Hi everyone, this is Aaron for Zollotech, and we're going to compare the iPhone 4S to the iPhone 5. One of the most asked questions I get recently, either on YouTube or by friends, is should I upgrade from the 4S to the 5? The 5 is really a nice phone, and so is the 4S, and I really wanted to try and help you make the best decision as to whether or not you should upgrade. Or maybe you're just interested in seeing what's different. So I wanted to kind of cover that the best I could. So let's first talk about weight and dimensions. The 4S is 4.5 inches tall by 2.31 inches wide. The 5 is 4.87 inches tall by 2.31 inches wide. So they're the exact same width, but the iPhone 5 is slightly taller by about, zero point 0.2 of an inch. So it's not that much thinner, but it is definitely thinner. I don't know if you can see it at this dimension, but if I put them side by side, I do have a skin on the 4S, but you can get the idea. It's not that big of a difference. Weight-wise, though, it is different. This is made out of aluminum. This is made out of mostly glass and steel. So you do have a weight difference here of about 1 ounce less. The iPhone 5 comes in at 3.95 ounces, while the 4S comes in at 4.9 ounces. So not a huge difference, but it's about an ounce, and it is noticeable in the hand. Most people, in fact, say they notice that right away. I personally didn't right away when I was holding it. It just depends on your perspective, but it's definitely lighter when you're holding them. The display has also been lengthened or enlarged on the iPhone 5. That's probably the biggest change, to 4 inches instead of 3.5 of the iPhone 4S. So we have a 1136 by 640 resolution here, while we have a 960 by 640 resolution here. They're both 326 pixels per inch. Both great phones as far as that. As far as cellular and wireless, though, speed-wise, you're going to notice a big speed jump on the iPhone 5. Wi-Fi is improved. It has dual band Wi-Fi for the N, Wi-Fi N, so you get better speeds, less interference, and I tend to notice that. Some people online have been complaining that they're having degraded speed, but I'm sure that depends on what kind of router you're using as well. You also get LTE, so that's long-term evolution on iPhone 5 that works across Sprint, Verizon, and AT&T in the United States, and others across in Europe and throughout. So it's really fast. In fact, in my area, when I do a speed test on AT&T LTE, I was able to get 42 down by 12 up in my particular area. That's Syracuse, New York area. So pretty impressive speeds coming from the iPhone 5 using LTE. We have a nano SIM in the iPhone 5 as opposed to a micro SIM. You're really not going to notice too much of a difference, but the slot's a little bit smaller, as is the actual SIM card. It's very minorly smaller, but a little bit thinner also. Now, the cameras on the iPhone 5 have been improved. It's basically the same 8 megapixel camera, but they improved the lens on the 5, and whatever else they did improved the low light situation. I'll go ahead and show you some pictures to give you an example right here. They also improved the front-facing camera on the iPhone 5. It's now a 720p HD iSight front-facing camera as opposed to a VGA resolution on the 4S. Not a huge deal, but for those of you that use FaceTime a lot, it will definitely make things clearer and nicer. Both cameras record in 1080p and have basically the same features throughout iOS 6, so I'm not really going to talk too much about that because they're basically identical. There's really no difference that I can find between the 4S and the 5 other than the overall speed of the user interface and experience. Let me turn on the 4S. The 5 is on. We'll wait for that to boot up, and I'll show you what I mean. The phone is snappier in things you do, and honestly, I don't know that many people will really be able to see it unless they're used to using a 4S or a 4 every day. If you're coming from an iPhone 4, you'll definitely notice it. In fact, that's exactly what my wife did. She came from an iPhone 4, more junk mail there. She came from an iPhone 4 to an iPhone 5 and notices a huge speed difference. She also notices better color in the screen. Now, both are on. They're both on auto brightness. They have pretty much the exact same icon layout. Screen responsiveness is exactly the same. The button feels a little bit better on the iPhone 5 and is much easier to replace. I don't have my SIM card in this phone. I have it in my iPhone 5 because I'm using that. But you can see I have an extra row of icons here, but pretty much the same stuff on both phones. The experience is pretty fast. I don't know that this is going to be the best example for showing you. We're both on the same Wi-Fi network. And I'll just go to Zollotech quick. And it may be the same, but the iPhone 5 tends to be a little bit quicker in this regard. It's not that drastic of a change. You can see it loaded faster. You're really not going to see any difference as far as that goes for the most part. If you're happy with the iPhone 4S's speed, you're really not going to be disappointed with the iPhone 5, but I don't know that there's that big of a upgrade for you. One of the major things that I was hoping for that Apple did not do is give better battery life, or much better battery life. They did improve it some. They gave it 8 hours on LTE for the iPhone 5, which is the same as the 3G talk time on the 4S and the same on the 5 as well. We just have a little bit better battery life, I guess, than other phones with the same size battery. So you'll still get a full day out of your iPhone 5. It's about the same size battery. I personally get great battery life on my 4S. The 5, I'm tending to get a little better battery life still, so I can go for a day. Unless I'm using it a real heavy usage, then I'll have to charge it. But if you use normal usage, you pull it out sometimes, check your email, put it back in your pocket, maybe charge it in a car or something, I'll get a day and a half. Just depends on how you're using it. The phones themselves, though, are both the same to use. And in fact, there is a little more heft to the iPhone 5 or 4S that I like as opposed to the 5. The 5 feels very light when you're holding it because of its thinness. I don't have a case or skin on it yet. Both phones come in the same capacity, 16, 32, and 64 gigabyte models for the same price, or they were originally the same price, $199, $299, and $399 with a 2-year contract in the United States. So they're pretty much the same that way. But one of the major changes they made was the dock connector. Now, I talked a little bit more about that in a different video regarding the Lightning connector as opposed to the 30-pin connector. You can see the differences on the bottom, and we also have a headphone adapter on the bottom. It's been moved from the top to the bottom. Now, personally, I liked it on the top. However, the majority of people I've talked to actually prefer it on the bottom. So it's really whatever you like. But you can see how much smaller that connector is. I don't know that's necessary. And if you have a lot of docks, you may just want to hold out and use your iPhone 4S until the next version comes out. All those expensive docks you may have spent money on are useful still. And if there's no problem with those, you may want to just wait until you can get the cheap adapters instead of the $30 adapter from Apple. You can see the connectors here. Here's the Lightning connector. Here's the 30-pin dock connector. Both work just fine, and both are equally secure, but one is obviously a lot smaller and different. One's digital. This has analog as well. So in my opinion, is it worth the upgrade? Well, that really depends on how much you value using iOS and what your experience with the iPhone is. For me, it's worth the upgrade. I like the larger screen. I like the new form factor. I've had this for 2 years, basically, with the iPhone 4 and 4S. I don't necessarily like the change of the microphone, or the headphone jack, rather, but I'll get used to that. Everything else feels real solid, and in fact, torture tests of the phone that I've seen online do show that this screen tends to be more scratch resistant, and the phone overall seems to be really strong. Other than maybe this anodized black that may have a tendency to scratch over time, I will eventually have a protector on it. They're just not here yet. But other than this, I don't know that it's going to hold up that well. It might not. We'll see over time. The glass I keep protected here with a carbon fiber skin. But, I think the upgrade's great. It's nice to use the new phone, and I love the LTE speed. If none of that matters to you, save your money and wait for the next upgrade. Keep your 4S. If you're having a great experience, there's no reason to upgrade. If you're someone that has to be on the edge of technology and likes to be right there when things come out, like myself, it'll be worth it to you. I think overall, if you got the iPhone 5, you wouldn't be disappointed, but I don't think you would be ecstatic that you've got something completely different, because it feels like a familiar friend with a different dock adapter and a slightly larger screen. It's a great phone. The camera is fantastic in iOS 6. While it's not a huge update, it's a good update, and hopefully Apple does some even better things in the future. If you have any questions between the two, maybe I didn't answer, please feel free to comment below and let me know what you're thinking regarding the two phones. Would you upgrade? Have you upgraded? Or maybe you don't think the upgrade's worth it and you're waiting for the next phone. please go ahead and place those in the comments below. I love to hear what you have to say about that. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.